All right, the countdown to the Halloween 45 convention in Pasadena has begun. And to celebrate that, I'm going to be doing the best and worst of all of the Halloween franchise one by one. So we're starting with Halloween from 1978. Okay, so I'm going to be going through all of my best moments from Halloween 1978. So I was trying to do a top 10, however, I found one extra one that I threw into an 11th spot, and I thought it was important to add it in. So coming in at number 11 is going to be when Loomis makes his case with the board of directors at Smiths Grove Sanitarium. And the reason I included this in the list is it was never in the original film. It wasn't a deleted scene. It actually wasn't filmed until they went into film Halloween 2, because the television version of Halloween 1 that was going to debut on NBC in the lead up to Halloween 2 was too short. So being that all of the actors were on set filming Halloween 2, NBC asked them if they would go in and film some extended scenes to add into the television version of Halloween. Now, while not all of those extended scenes were great or even needed, I thought this one was really good, and I really wish it would get edited into an official version of a Blu-ray or something like that. Dr. Loomis goes in to see the board of directors to make his case that Michael should not be held at Smiths Grove Sanitarium, but rather he should be in a maximum security facility or prison. Now, the board of directors doesn't seem to agree with Dr. Loomis. They believe that since he doesn't really talk, he doesn't move, he doesn't do anything other than just sit there, they believe that he's not really a threat to anyone in the sanitarium or a threat to anyone if he were to get out. So they just don't believe Dr. Loomis. And Dr. Loomis makes his case. You know, he mentions how just a group of court-appointed psychiatrists couldn't possibly understand what Dr. Loomis understands after watching over him for so many years. Ultimately, Dr. Loomis loses his case with the board of directors, and they choose to keep him at Smiths Grove Sanitarium, and all is history from there. Coming in my number 10 spot is going to be at the very beginning of the film, when Dr. Loomis says the evil is gone. This is right after Dr. Loomis and Marion Chambers are taking that drive to Smiths Grove Sanitarium, and they find that all of the patients have escaped. Now, I found this moment to be so important because Dr. Loomis doesn't refer to Michael Myers as him or even as a person in any way possible, but in that moment he says he's gone from here. The evil is gone.
Are you all right? You're all right?
Yes, I'm okay.
He's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone.
And that's an important setup, because if this is your first time watching the movie, you understand how serious things are about to get. When he says the evil is gone, you know things are really about to go down in this movie. So I thought that line was just important. I remember the first time I seen it, I was like, oh shit, what's about to happen? So that's my number 10 spot. So coming in at number 9 is the famous hedge scene. And this is when Laurie, Annie, and Linda are walking home from school. Linda makes her way to her house, and Laurie and Annie begin to continue walking straight. And Michael Myers steps out from behind the bush, stares at Laurie, and then steps back behind the bush. And then when they check, he is gone. It was just such an iconic scene. That's one of those really creepy stalker moments. In the middle of the day, it's still creepy. And it's one of those things that we as fans, when we go to Pasadena, California, we all go and recreate that moment. All right, coming in my number 8 spot is going to be the Annie Brackett kill. And that's an important one to me because that's the first time that we see adult Michael actually make a kill, right? Because prior to that, we know as a kid he killed Judith Myers, his sister, and then as an adult, after escaping Smiths Grove Sanitarium, he kills the mechanic, then he kills Lester, the family dog. But this is the first time we actually see adult Michael make a kill on another human being, and it's one of Laurie's friends, so it's the first one to go, Annie Brackett. I love this kill because it was one of those things, it was suspenseful because we saw it coming. Annie's planning to pick up Paul, so she walks out to the car, notices that the door is locked, she forgot the keys, she goes back inside, so immediately you know what's gonna happen. You know Myers is in the backseat of that car, you know it's coming. And it's so suspenseful. Of course, she gets back in the car, notices something's a little off, the windows are foggy, obviously someone's breathing in the car, and there he is. He pops out, strangles her to death, she falls on the horn. So Again, one of my best moments because it's the first one of the group of friends to go. Number 7 on the list is going to be the Bob kill, one of the most iconic kills in the franchise. This is right after Bob and Linda finish fooling around, makes his way out of the room to go get a beer, goes to the kitchen, gets the beer, he's looking around, and you know the moment's coming. That you don't know where Michael is, you don't know when he's going to pop out, but you know he's going to. And sure enough, right when Bob gets into that little hallway, Michael pops out of the closet, and it's so quick. Strangles him to death, and then he pins him to the wall with a knife. It's one of the most iconic deaths in the franchise, and one of my favorite kills in the franchise as well. Coming in at number 6, it's going to be at the very end of Halloween from 1978, and that's when Michael Myers disappears. So Dr. Loomis shoots him 6 times off of the balcony at the Doyle house. Loomis looks over the balcony and sees Myers laying in the grass, and when he goes downstairs and looks at the front lawn, Myers is gone. It's an iconic moment because you know he's still alive, you can still hear the breathing inside of the mask. They show every room in the house while you're listening to the breathing, and one of the reasons I say that this is such an iconic moment too, not just because of the way it ended, but you have to remember that at that time, sequels weren't a really big thing. They were a very, very rare thing. Carpenter never planned to make a sequel to Halloween, so they were leaving you in the suspense. Like, you would hope for a sequel, but it just wasn't planned to happen. So that to me just makes it so much better that they were initially planning to just leave us there. Alright, coming in at my number 5 spot is going to be the Linda kill. This is right after Bob gets pinned to the wall. Myers comes back into the room wearing the sheet over his head, and the eyes are cut out, and he's got Bob's glasses on. And Linda says that famous line,
"See anything you like?"
The reason I say this is such an iconic moment is this is the first time that we see the mask really up close. Like, we've seen the mask at various points in the film, but they've been pretty distant, like the hedge scene or when he's standing out in the yard and Laurie sees him from the upstairs bedroom. But this is the first time we see that mask up close, and the lighting, you know, they've got that blue light on it to make it seem as if there's just a little bit of light coming in from the window, and it just looks so damn creepy. Thinking back to when I was younger and watching that scene, it really creeped me out, especially when he puts the phone up to his ear and Laurie's on the other end and she can hear him breathing into the phone. Because prior to that, she thought this entire thing was a prank until she heard Myers breathing, and she knew something was wrong, and obviously that's when she goes to look for her friends. So it's such a great moment. Coming in at number 4 on my best of Halloween list is going to be the Loomis Blackest Eyes speech. This is when Dr. Loomis and Sheriff Brackett are searching the house. They find the dead dog, and Brackett is really still trying to grasp what's going on this night. He's still not fully understanding what's happening, how important this night is to someone like Michael Myers. He still doesn't fully believe the things that Dr. Loomis is telling him. So Dr. Loomis makes a really important attempt at explaining who Michael Myers is, explaining how he met this child with the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, and how he spent all these years just trying to get through to him, and then realizing the only thing he could do is try to keep him locked away. At this point, just doesn't know what else to tell him other than the way he sees it through his eyes. And the way that Michael sees things through his eyes, because only Loomis really understands this. And it's also one of those really important moments because we're getting close to the end of the film at this point, and Loomis is still explaining the importance of this night to someone like Michael Myers. And he's not just explaining it to Brackett, right? We're the audience, we're looking from the outside. He's still explaining the evil that we're about to witness as an audience. So to me, it's more than just the speech, right? The speech is an iconic moment, but I just think the fact that he was explaining it so late in the film and the way he explained it, this isn't about really him explaining it to Brackett, it's about them building a suspense for us as an audience. So it's just one of those really important moments in the film.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Coming in at number 3 is another one of the creepiest moments, and this is after Laurie fights off Michael inside of the closet, and she thinks she's killed him. She gets out of the closet, she steps over the body, walks out of the room, and then Myers does that really creepy sit-up. It's just a really slow sit-up, slowly turns his head, and then you knew this thing was not over, especially if this is the first time you're watching the movie. And that's one of those moments that no matter how many times I watch the movie, I'm sitting there glued to the TV waiting for that slow sit-up, and still gives me the chills. I love that moment. Coming in at number 2 is when Tommy Doyle sees the boogeyman across the street from the living room window. This was such an important moment because through the entirety of this movie, Tommy Doyle is talking about the boogeyman. He's been teased about the boogeyman by his friends at school. He's talked about the boogeyman to Laurie, and Laurie's tried to calm him down and assure him that there's no such thing. And now, in this very moment, Tommy looks out that window and he sees the boogeyman. He sees Michael Myers standing across the street next to the house, and it's such a good scene because you can barely see him. It's just a dark silhouette. It's got that creepy blue light. But in this moment, Tommy's suspicions are confirmed. Everything he knew to be real, he's seeing in front of him right now. Coming in at number 1 is going to be when Laurie finds her friends. This is right after Laurie gets that call from Linda, and she hears Michael breathing on the other end of the phone, so she decides to go and check on her friends. And what she finds is completely terrifying. She finds Linda spread out on the bed, and the Judith Myers headstone is at the head of the bed. She finds Annie Brackett. She finds Bob hanging upside down in a closet, and this sets off the iconic chase scene where she's running across the street and Myers is chasing her. She's banging on the door for Tommy to come and let her in, and it sets off the fight between Laurie and Michael and the epic ending that would come from that. That to me is the best scene in the entire film, so it had to go in the number 1 spot. So coming up next is going to be my worst moments. That'll be the next video, so please subscribe, click the bell, that way you know when I post these next set of videos. So we're going to get the worst of Halloween 1978, then we're going to go on to the best and worst of Halloween 2, and so on.